Now, let us get into the actual MySQL syntax part of it. I just logged into MySQL. You can install MySQL. Once you install, you can get the command line prompt. There are other softwares where you can see MySQL through a graphical user interface also, but most of the times the database programmers will be using the command line prompt, because the command line prompt is easy to type the commands and then do. So once you are familiar with MySQL syntax, you will start liking this command line, right? So let us get into this part. There is something called Toad, T-O-A-D, Toad, which is a graphical user interface for MySQL. Probably we can show that towards the end of this webinar. Okay. Now, the first thing that I want to know, as I said, the database system contains many databases. Now I want to know what are the databases available in this system in my PC. To do that, there's a command called show databases. If you type show databases in this PC within this MySQL, how many databases are there? If you see here, there is something called information schema, MySQL, SPCG, ABC Corp, SPCG Master, SPCG Test. There are 6 different databases within this system. Okay. Each database has its own set of tables. For example, if I want to see what are the tables inside the test, or what are the table inside MySQL, okay, I can say use MySQL. There's a command called use MySQL, or say use and the database name. I can say use test. I can always say use test. Then it says database change. That means in your file explorer you are moving from one folder to another folder. Same way I can move from one folder to one database to another database. Okay. Each database is independent, right? Each database is independent. They are self-contained. They are self-sufficient within the database itself. Again, you may think, why should I use these commands rather than going through the graphical user interface? Most of the times in the software field, people are either programmers or testers who have to get into the database to see the details. So it is better to know the command line commands, and then GUI will be easy for you. So if you learn the hard fact first, then the easy part will follow pretty easily. Now within this, what are the tables available? If I want to see, okay, if I want to see what are the tables within the database, right now I am in test database. If I want to see what are the tables, I say show tables. When you use this command show space tables, right, it shows all the tables within this. Right now there are no tables in test database. Now let me move to use MySQL database, and then I say show tables. If you see here, there are so many different table names: proc, host, proc_sprive, something time_zone, user. All these are table names. Okay. So I come back to use test database. I say show tables. There is no table as of now available. Very fundamental and rudimentary trivial commands. Use the database, show the list of databases available within the system, show the tables within that particular database. First 3 commands. Is it clear? The very first 3 commands in MySQL. Is it clear? Please raise your hands. Great. Let us move on. The next thing that I want to do is, in any database system, okay, in any database system, I'm coming back to Notepad. In any DB system, okay, you have got something called data definition language, okay, data definition language. There is something called data manipulation language, okay. DDL and DML. DDL, as it suggests, there is something called a definition, right? You define the tables, you define the database, you define the views, right? Basically, you can simply remember one thing. Create, there are 3 commands: create, alter, drop, okay? There are 3 commands: create, alter, drop. These 3 commands are always part of DDL, data definition language. I want to create a table, I want to alter the table definition, I want to drop the table definition. I want to create an index, I want to alter an index, I want to drop the index. So create, alter, drop are part of data definition language. Again, DDL does not stop only with create, alter, drop, but as a user, we will be using these 3 commands heavily. As part of data manipulation language, select, insert, update, delete. These are the 4 topmost commands that we will be dealing in the data manipulation language, okay. If you are able to manage these 3 plus 4, 7 commands, okay, fairly you will have a very good idea on how the database management system works. Now I am going to get into show some DDL commands and DML commands for today to start with. The first command to do this create, alter, drop, right? Now I want to say I want to create a table. I am inside a database, okay? Now I want to create, let us first try to create a database itself. Create database MyDB. I gave a command create database MyDB. Now if I say show databases, now when I say show databases, it shows MyDB right here, right? I use the word create database MyDB. It created a database MyDB. Now I say drop database MyDB. It says query OK. Now I use the same show databases. Previously MyDB existed. After I say dropped, it is removed. You don't see this MyDB over here. So I can create a database, I can drop a database. Drop meaning completely erasing, removing from the disk. Drop meaning removing from the disk. There is something called delete. I'll talk about that delete a little bit later when we see the tables. But first thing, you can create your own database and you can drop the database. But if you drop the database, as I said, database contains tables, index, everything. Anything within the table database also will be dropped. They will be removed from the disk. So you should be extremely careful when you drop databases. The next thing I want to do is I say use test. This is the database that I want to start working from now on. To see what are the available tables, we have already seen something called show tables. Right now there is no table in this. Now I want to create a table. Remember data definition language, create, alter, drop. I want to create a table. A table is nothing but a set of rows and columns. For example, I want to have some data represented in a tabular fashion, right? Again, this database is something like very similar to schema. There is a word called schema. Again, I don't want to confuse the people who are newly coming into this. Schema is one thing like This is a name used by other databases like Oracle and other things, right? Now I want to have a simple information. Okay, a simple information like this. Train number, train name, okay, from station to station, okay, and number of coaches, n coaches, okay, how many coaches the train has. So I want to have these 5 information: train number, train name, from station to station, number of coaches, okay. So I can say train number 112, train name is Howrah Express, from station Chennai, Howrah, number of coaches is 23. I can have another, this is one row, this is called one row. In one line I have got the train number, train name, from station to station, the entire set of data. I want to have one more row, train number 256, Rajdhani Express, I say Bangalore to Delhi, number of coaches is 16. This is another row, right? So I have got some data like train number, train name, but if I put them in a single line, then it makes a meaning to me. And now tell me what are the train numbers I have listed. Train number 112, 256. Tell me number of coaches alone, 23 and 16. So if you take only that information of a particular entity, that is called a column, right? This is column, this is row, right? For example, if you want to, this is row, horizontal is row, the vertical element is a column. This is a column. From station, this is a column. To station, this is a column. 23, 16, number of coaches, this is a column. Train number alone, this is a column. So it is very similar to what you see in Excel sheets, right? In Excel sheets, you have rows and columns demarked as cells. A table must have column definition at the time of creation, then it should have data in it as rows. So column at the time of definition, data at the time of storage. How to create the table? I am coming back to MySQL command line. How to create a table? Now I say create table. This is a command. Again, commands in MySQL are not case sensitive. You can use capital letters or small letters, doesn't matter. I use a command called the create table. I want to give a table name, right? Table name is trains, okay? The name of the train and everything should be stored as each column, right? The name of the table itself I am giving as trains. Now the column definition must be within brackets. You have to start a bracket, then give column 1, column 2, column 3, etc. Now first column, I say train underscore number. You have to give a column name. At the same time, you have to say whether it is a number, whether it is a character, whether it is a date field. Right now, I am going to say this train number is a numeric one. So I am going to say integer, the data type. This is the name of the column. This is the data type of the column. And then I put, so this is column 1. Put a comma for the column 2. Now I say train underscore name. Now I'm going to say this is character of 20. When I say character, this can contain data which are alphabetic or numeric, right? 20 means it can store 20 bytes. This is train number is column 1, train name is column 2. Now I put a enter key. If I put the enter key, you will see a small hyphen and the greater than symbol. That means it is continuing the command. End of the command is always semicolon, okay? Until you give a semicolon, it will keep on giving you the next line like this, like a prompt, right? Now I'm going to say third column. From station, I'm going to say character of 10. to station, I'm going to say character of 10. Then number of coaches, I'm going to say integer. Now I'm closing the bracket. I'm opening the bracket to have all the columns, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. Then I'm closing the bracket, put a semicolon, and then put enter. The moment you enter, since it is a semicolon, it understands that the command has ended. Down it says query OK. It doesn't give any syntax errors. If you have made any syntax errors, so create table is a command. Integer is a keyword to denote numeric. Character, CHAR, you can also spell character fully also. That is another keyword. Now I want to know whether the table exists, right? The database name, table name, column names, everything is not case sensitive, okay? The table name, database name, column names, you can write it in capital letters or small letters, no issues, okay? How do I know that the database table has been created? To see what are the tables already here, you can say show tables, pretty much like show databases. If you say show tables, okay, it will list all the tables available. Now I want to create one more table. Let me create another table. Create table my tab 1. I'm just giving an example. My tab 1, that's the name of the table. Now I'm going to say column 1 integer, column 2, suppose without giving anything, any data type, I'm entering, right? Now it says you have an error in your SQL syntax, right? It says near this close bracket there is a problem. That means there is some syntax error. Now I go there, I understand, oh, there is a syntax problem. For C column 2, I want to give the data type. Now I am going to say character of 50. Enter. It is created. Now I want to say how many tables are available. Show tables. You can say now it is showing my tab 1 as well as strings. So there are 2 tables that we have created, right? Again, MySQL, it is not case sensitive in Windows because Windows itself is not case sensitive. Whereas if I install MySQL in Linux or Unix, the table names, column names, they are case sensitive, right? If you install MySQL in Linux or Unix, there it is case sensitive. Whereas here in Windows, it's not case sensitive. Okay, now I have created 2 tables. I have given some format. Now I want to see whether it has created the same way I have given as the format. To see the structure of a table, the command is describe my tab 1. Okay, DESC. Okay, describe. That means it will show the structure of the table. I say describe trains. Now it says this is a field or the column name, train number, integer. By default it is taking 11 bytes, and then I will come to this null a little bit later, but this is what we have given: character 20, from station character 10, to station character 10, number of coaches integer. The moment you give just integer, it takes that 11 bytes by default. Okay, so now I can understand I have given these column names, those column names, and the format, basically the data type is correct. So in simple terms, the key point that you need to remember is to create a table, you must provide a table name and you must provide column names, data types of each column, and the length. Character 20, character 10. For certain things, the data field size is fixed. For integer, everything is, for date field, the date everything is fixed. Whereas here, if you are giving character or say the type, you have to give the length also for every field. This is called create. Now I want to remove the my tab 1 from the database. Now if I say show tables, there are two tables, my tab 1 and trains. I want to completely erase my tab 1. Same command, drop table my tab 1. Now I do show tables once again. See, previously my tab 1 was existing inside the database. I did a drop table, now that is gone. So create the table is like creating a file inside. Dropping the table is erasing or deleting the file, right? Is this clear? Can you please raise the hands if this is clear? Great. And it shows every time when it is executing a command, it shows 0.28 seconds, 0.00 seconds, right? It takes that much time to execute your command. From the time you hit the enter, you typed it and then you hit the enter. 00 seconds means it might have taken some microseconds or milliseconds, right? So it is not showing. Whereas the moment you said drop, it took almost 0.14 of a second to drop the table to remove it from the disk, right? So that it shows how many seconds it takes to execute that command also. Okay. Now the next thing is, right now I have a table. Okay, one more thing I want to stress to people is, already within this last 30 to 35 minutes of webinar itself, you might have come to know about keywords: create database, drop database, show, use, describe, right? Integer. By this time itself, you might have come across 10 to 12 keywords, which are all syntactic elements of MySQL. And you need to learn that and then start practicing. Again, MySQL, you go to mysql.org, download that, and then install it. It's a simple install. It's a free software. It's an open source software. MySQL has been taken over by Sun Microsystems also, and again, Sun has been taken over by Oracle. There's a bid, right? Again, I'm not sure whether all these takeover things are complete officially and legally, but there's a news. So you can get it from MySQL site, download. It's a free and open source software. Most important thing is you will be coming across so many keywords like this every day. Assume that you come across 15 keywords a day. At the end of 5-day webinar, you'll be knowing about 60 keywords of MySQL and how to use that. So you have to practice. That's extremely important, right? Now, I want to have one more thing within this. Today, before we close, this is the database structure. This is the table structure. Right now, there is no data in it. How do I know whether there is data in it or not? To do anything with the data, you have to use DML commands, data manipulation language. Select, insert, update, delete. To create the table, to remove the table, you use create and drop. Whereas to deal with the data, to manipulate or to maintain or to manage data, you have to use DML commands. To see whether there is anything in the table, to see whether there is any data, you have to say select star from trains. This is a very simple syntax. Select meaning retrieve, get the data from the table. Star meaning there are n number of columns in it, right? It may have 5 columns or it may be 10 columns. Get me all the columns. From is a keyword, trains is a table name. So get me all the fields and all the records from this table. Right now it says there is no record. Because we have only created the table, we did not put any data inside the table. And we are trying to retrieve, right? One person has asked, how do we get the previous command? From MySQL prompt, if I press the up arrow, right? If I keep on pressing the up arrow, you could see the previous commands start showing up, right? Again, down arrow, you can do that. So to get the previous command, you can just press the up arrow and then hit enter, right? So you can navigate through the existing commands history, basically the history of commands. You can use up arrow and down arrow, right? Now,